Hello, I am Super Orange Cat, and here I am today with Toonami's ratings from October 12th, 2019. Let's start at the top of the block. A rerun of Dragon Ball Super gets a .22. One Punch Man Season 2 debut gets a .20. Dr. Stone's at a .19. Fire Force at a .19. Food Wars at a .18. The debut of Demon Slayer at a .17. Black Clover at a .15. Boruto at a .15, Shippuden at a .15, Lupin at a .12, and a rerun of My Hero Academia at a .11. In general, there's a lot to unpack about this week. There was a lot of guesses about where the ratings would go, considering that we're getting reruns of Dragon Ball Super now. And I think the most expected route kind of happened here, where it loses quite a bit of the pop to the ratings. So really it almost blends in with the rest of the block in terms of numbers now. That .22 is probably the lowest Dragon Ball Super has ever done, physically being in Toonami. But again, it was expected because you're not going to get like the .4 something you got last week with the finale, as one would think. But after that, one thing I could say really good about the block is that the retention was very solid, especially for the first half or so of the block. Because you have One Punch Man's Season 2 debut only dropping 200s from Dragon Ball Super. One Punch Man Season 2, a lot of people talk about how it doesn't live up to Season 1. They complain about the animation. At least based on the first episode of Season 2, I really like where it's going to go with this season so far. I have a lot of hope for it, and let's see if that gets fulfilled over the next 11 or so weeks. Dr. Stone and Fire Force, might as well bunch them up now because for some weird reason, they always have the exact same number week after week. And the real question for if it's a good week or a bad week for it's usually whether it hits .2. It just missed on that out on that this week, so kind of a disappointing week for both Dr. Stone and Fire Force. Again, two of the more hyped anime of this year. Hasn't necessarily really gotten great numbers here in Toonami. And then you have Food Wars, which are only 1/100th below that. A lot of people, when Food Wars came to the block, said it's going to bomb on the block, it's going to bomb on the block, but it consistently nearly does as well as Dr. Stone or Fire Force, which everyone was really high about. So I think, at least considering expectations, Food Wars has actually outperformed on the block. And then you have Demon Slayer's debut. This could have gone anywhere, I think, on the scale. Some people thinking this is the next Dragon Ball Super. It's going to get .3 something each week. Because really, if you look online, if you look at online forums, if you look at what people are talking about, you would think that Demon Slayer is the next My Hero Academia in terms of being that anime that just absolutely explodes onto the scene and becomes a big cultural phenomenon. But the ratings here don't necessarily show that. I'm not sure how many weeks ahead we are behind the sub in Japan. So again, there's possibly that same factor that someone who watched the debut subbed might not necessarily want to watch it dubbed like only a short time afterward, which I believe to a degree is kind of might be what's hurting like Dr. Stone and Fire Force because they're kind of in that situation right now. But again, even being a 1:30 a.m. show, at the same time, with the hype that Demon Slayer had, probably having the longest gap between announcement and airtime that we've ever had for Toonami, you can tell there are very high expectations for this show. And in a weird way, it can be almost seen as like how Fully Coolly Progressive and Alternative were last year, in which they had a lot of hype behind them. Toonami was advertising the living hell out of them. And you gotta imagine with that, they were expecting astronomical numbers, though the two Fully Coolies never really got astronomical numbers. And the streaming, although technically first place, as it was last year, it was getting those numbers in the summer when very few new things are airing, so that's a misleading statistic, really, saying you're number one in streaming in the middle of the summer. But back to Demon Slayer, I'll call it a bit of a disappointing week. Albeit I've been told by multiple people Demon Slayer does start pretty slow for the next 3, 4 weeks. It's kind of a slow start to the show. So maybe it's kind of like what Black Clover does, that the second we hit high action, the ratings start ballooning. So maybe it will do that. I don't know. I've heard a lot of good things, specifically people pointing out episode 19. I obviously haven't watched it past this first episode yet, so I can't tell you about that. They're hyping it up, and maybe in 20, yeah, it's gonna be 2020 when we get episode 19. Maybe it'll magically increase a lot when it comes to that episode. Now, going further past that, you have Black Clover to 0.15. Kind of what you've come to expect with Black Clover the last few weeks. Not necessarily a good or a bad rating. It's in there. Again, like I mentioned with the last bit about Demon Slayer, maybe if when Black Clover really starts ballooning in hard action again, we will see an increase in ratings. And then you have Boruto right after it, which, based on the key demographic viewers, actually was a dead tie with Black Clover. And Boruto has always been a weird case where sometimes it will magically gut up into the high teens, sometimes it will stay in the low teens. And this week seems to be another average week for it in the show, which 230 getting a 0.15 isn't that bad. And we'll see what happens in the 230 slot in 2 weeks when we get Golden Wind there. Maybe let's see if Golden Wind improves on these ratings. Does Golden Wind decrease on these ratings? We'll only see then. Shippuden also getting a 0.15, which, considering the fact that Shippuden consistently ends up being the lowest rated show in the block at times, it's kind of a good rating for it. So a good week for Shippuden, I suppose. Loop on the third part 5, kind of just getting burnt out at the end of the block at a 0.12. It's kind of what it's been doing the last few weeks, so not much different. And My Hero Academia at 4 a.m. You can't expect too much out of My Hero Academia. It is a rerun at this point. And we'll see in 3 weeks if we do get season 4 on Toonami. I believe a few days ago, season four's debut episode got debuted, and I heard it had a great reception. I don't know because I don't really intently follow My Hero Academia, so I can't tell from personal experience, but I've heard good stuff about it. So maybe that will carry over to when My Hero Academia airs new episodes on Toonami. And at that point, if My Hero Academia is getting season 4 on Toonami, it's gonna be the lead-off show on the block. I don't see any other way around it. So again, what do you guys think? Do you think these are good ratings? What's your opinion on Demon Slayer? Are you excited for Golden Wind coming to the block finally in like a week and a half? Leave your opinions below. I love reading them. If you like this, if you want more Toonami's ratings, content like this, please like this video. Please subscribe and hit that notification button. I am Super Orange Cat, and that is all.